Hey, it is Tina Forsyth here. I help experts turn their IP into certification and licensing programs. And today I want to walk you through the 9 steps to create a successful certification. This is my Ready, Set, Certify model. I want to walk you through it in depth. So this is a bit of a longer video today. Now, certification is a strategic business model, meaning it's not a good one to just throw together and see what happens. If you are visionary at all, like I am, I'm sure you've maybe done this before with previous programs or offering the whole fly the plane as you go, put the pieces together as you go model, which can be okay with simpler offers like training or service packages, but there is too much at stake with a certification program. You are giving people permission to use your intellectual property, your IP, in a very specific way. And if you do a poor job of planning your program before you launch it, then you may end up with a big old mess on your hands that you have to circle back and fix down the road. Or worse, you might end up with people out there in the world using your stuff in a way that doesn't align with your standards or your brand and have no recourse to do anything about it, which is a big yikes. So this is why I developed my Ready, Set, Certify model. This is based on my own experience running a certification program since 2009, plus the experience of the many clients I've worked with. There are 3 parts to this model: strategy, structure, and standards. And I want to walk you through each section in a bit more detail here. The first is strategy, and strategy is about 3 things: the why, the who, and the what. The first thing I always work with my clients on is the why. What does success look like for each of the 3 stakeholders? You as the founder, the folks you certify, and the people they are going to work with and serve. This is the why of your certification. What's in it for them? Everything we build and plan for your program needs to circle back into this why. For example, one of my clients, Gloria, she's the founder of the School of Better Eyesight, and her mission is to help people improve their vision naturally so that they don't need glasses and contact lenses. She's developed a methodology that she's used now for decades with her clients. Now, Gloria's she came to me because she's nearing an age where she wants to retire, and it's still important to her that her methodology and her frameworks are passed along to others who can continue this mission. She also wants to create recurring income for herself to continue to support her into her retirement while giving other professionals the opportunity to make a great living through her work. So these reasons are the big why behind her certification program. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make in their programs is not identifying the who, their ideal student profile. Certification is an interesting model in that there may be people who want to be certified by you, but they aren't a fit to do great work and represent your brand. I like to say just because they want it does not mean that they get it. This goes against what so many of us are taught with other models and offers, where if people want to buy what you're offering, all right, let them in. That is dangerous in the certification model. You can have the best training in the world, but if the people you certify are not the right fit, they will struggle to be successful, and they may end up doing a poor job of representing your brand. They might even damage your brand over time. We want to be extra picky here. It is essential that you get crystal clear on the criteria, the prerequisites for who is a good fit for your program so that you know everyone you certify is set up for success. Now, the what piece is about what exactly you're going to certify them in and what they can do with it. My mantra here is less is more. The best certification programs out there are based on very simple things, simple frameworks, clear deliverables. An example is my client, Joy, who is a marketing expert. She has over a decade of experience in marketing and wanted to create a certification program based on her expertise, her programs, her models. Now, initially when she came to me, we weren't really sure what her certification was going to be about. We were looking through the lens of, okay, do we want it to be a full meal deal program and include elements of everything she's developed and taught? Or do we want to create something a little simpler? And what we ultimately landed on is creating a copy coach certification. So one of the elements of her existing programs, her existing frameworks, is she helps people with their copy. And she's developed a really cool framework and methodology to coach people through the process of creating amazing and effective copy. So instead of trying to build this giant certification program around everything that she knows about everything, which is a lot, she's a very experienced and wise woman, we decided to, and she ultimately chose to focus solely on the copy coaching piece of her framework. And so ultimately in the strategy lens, when we're putting these three things together, the why, the who, and the what, this becomes the solid strategy that we build our certification on. This becomes what we're going to make decisions on for the next sections of this Ready, Set, Certify model. So let's talk next about the second layer of the Ready, Set, Certify model, and that is structure. This is about the structuring of your training program, the delivery, the curriculum, and your testing process. Now, a pre-recorded video and a Q&A call does not a certification make. What do I mean by that? In the online training world or the training world at large, there is a lot about digital-based training or evergreen-based trainings. Just pre-record your training, maybe throw in a few Q&A calls here for extra value. Bam, done. And I hate to tell you, this is not effective for adult learning. As adults, we don't actually learn through just watching a video. We learn through the application of what we are being taught. So real life scenarios, demonstrations, discussions, adult learning best practices guide the way that I help my clients structure their training programs. Now, yes, we can pre-record our training videos. They don't always have to be live, so long as we include other ways to enhance and integrate throughout the learning experience. Now, I'm a bit embarrassed to admit this was a lesson that it took us a while to learn with our OBM certification. I mean, for years we did the, hey, just watch a video and come on a Q&A call format. And we ultimately found it wasn't as effective as we wanted it to be. First of all, most people didn't come to the Q&A calls. And those that did often weren't sure what to ask, or the calls ended up being monopolized by just a handful of folks. You might have experienced this yourself. Through student feedback, we discovered that people weren't feeling as confident or ready as we wanted them to feel when they were coming out of the training program. So we shifted our training structure. We worked with an adult learning professional, and we shifted our training structure to be a mix of videos. Yes, we continued with our pre-recorded videos alongside other structured activities. Students felt much more confident and ready as they graduated from the program. This was reflected in the student feedback that we measure and now use as a benchmark in our program. Now, some of you might not like hearing this, as it means there must be a live element to the delivery of your certification. And I hear so often from people, oh my gosh, Tina, I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to do any delivery here. I'm already busy enough. And I get it. This is also why when I'm working with clients, we're building their program with an eye to having other people be able to step in and lead certain elements of your training and certification down the road, so that once the program is established, you don't necessarily need to be the one leading the program year after year, unless if you want to. Of course, there's absolutely ways to structure this, and a well-designed delivery will allow for other people to step in and lead those live elements of your program down the road. Here we are, and this is officially halfway through the Ready, Set, Certify model, and only now are we going to talk about curriculum. Now, most people think this is where we start when we're creating a certification, but it only kicks in once we've done the legwork that we've already talked about in strategy and having a solid understanding of adult learning best practices. When we know the what that we've defined already, and we know the who that we're going to be training, the curriculum is going to come much easier. We know that the curriculum we're developing will ultimately serve our who and our what and our why. I recommend taking a just enough approach. What do you need to teach so that people can be successful with your method and without overwhelming them with stuff that they don't actually need? Now, one thing to note here is it's not just about teaching them your methodology. It's also about teaching them how to be successful with your methodology. When I led the first OBM certification training, again, back in 2009, I taught them everything they needed to know to be an OBM for their clients. I mean, frankly, I probably taught them too much, but I missed one of the most important things. And when I was checking in with my students post-certification to see how they were doing, I was surprised to find that many of them were stuck in one key area. They didn't know how to find clients. They didn't know how to market themselves. They didn't know how to do a sales call and how to enroll a new client. I hadn't taught this at all in the training program. It honestly hadn't even occurred to me, as personally, I had always found my clients through referrals and connections. And yet, it's one of the most important skills for them as OBMs. If they can't find clients, they would never get to work as a certified OBM. And honestly, in hindsight, it was a little bit of a, oh yeah, a bit of a duh moment, if you will. But we since added a whole module on finding clients to our curriculum because that's an important part of what they need to learn so that they can be successful with what they're learning down the road. One of the biggest questions I get as well from people is, what is the difference between certification and licensing? Ultimately, licensing is giving people permission to use your IP, and it can be a standalone offer. You can give someone a license to take and use what you've already created. It can be it can be structured in a very simple way. Certification is taking things a step further. It's ultimately training people in your methodology and putting them through a testing process to ensure that they meet the standards that you're setting. We'll talk about standards in a moment. Your testing process is essential for a strong certification program. You want to test their understanding of and application of what they are learning. Now, I like to look at this through the lens of trust. What do I need to see from this person to trust that they know what they are doing and that they will represent my brand well? Now, despite what you might see out there in some programs, it is not enough to give folks a multiple choice test. All that does is either test their ability to retain information or to look it up quickly on demand. It doesn't actually evaluate their ability to use what they've been learning, which is what really matters here. The best form of testing is application-based, and there are various options, various ways you can structure that depending on what your program is about, your certification. Not only does this give you confidence in the folks that you're certifying, you know that they actually know what they're doing. It also gives them confidence as they go out into the world newly certified, because the testing process allows them to embody and prove to themselves too that they know what they're doing. Now I want to talk now about the last layer of the Ready, Set, Certify model. This is the standards layer. I want to talk about renewals and legal and measures. A certification program without renewals is just a glorified training program. This might sound harsh to say, but it's true. If you create a certification program that doesn't require people to pay to renew and keep their license on, say, maybe a yearly or at the most every 3 years basis, it is no different than any other training model out there. Renewals are essential for two reasons. One, it keeps your members engaged and up to speed with the latest and greatest information in your community. If you don't require renewals, you can end up with people who've been certified previously, but may not actually be doing the work anymore or doing it to your latest standard. This could be unruly over time and really hard to manage and control. Number two, it is recurring revenue for you. Now, from a financial perspective, one of the best reasons, in my opinion, to create a certification is that as you continue to certify more and more people, you increase your own revenue each year. And unlike other models, such as, say, memberships or coaching programs, people can stay with you and renew for years to come. We've had members in our certified OBM community who have been with us for almost 14 years now. They pay an annual fee to retain their certification status, and they receive other benefits as well that are available only to certified OBMs, including ongoing training and upgrading and such of their skill sets. Now, there are many certification programs out there that don't require any kind of renewal fee. And I cringe whenever I see this. It puts them in the position of having to constantly market and fill their certification program year after year, or they aren't making any money at all. And to me, that's no different than any other kind of regular training program. A certification program without renewals is just a glorified training, and it is a world of missed opportunity for the founder of the program. Now, allow me to say with all the love in my heart, do not enroll a single person into your certification without having all of your legal ducks in a row first. When it comes to certification, we are talking about your intellectual property, what you have worked so hard to create over the years. It is one of your most precious assets, and it needs to be protected. You need to have solid agreements in place that clearly outline all aspects of your program. Now, I'm not going to name names here, but I remember years ago when I enrolled in someone else's certification program. When I first joined, they didn't have an agreement for me to sign. Their program was brand new at the time. And I remember asking them, all right, what are the terms here? What am I allowed to do with what you're giving me? And they said, you can go do whatever you want with this. There was no guidelines, no restrictions. Now, as the person getting certified, this was great, as I was free to do whatever I wanted with it. As the certification professional, I had just started working with people to develop certifications at the time. I was a bit concerned for them. It felt like a yikes. It was like, are you sure about that? I mean, you're kind of opening up this can of worms for yourself. About a year later, they ended up circling back to everyone in the program to sign a very clear and purposeful agreement that did put restrictions and guidelines in place for the usage of their IP. I'm sure it was a bit of a messy process for them to work through that. I wasn't involved directly with it at the time, other than being a part of the program. And I suspect there were some not so comfortable conversations that had to happen as well. So ideally, we are doing these things before we're enrolling anyone. Now, you also want to make sure to protect your program through trademarks and copyrights. I've had to take legal action in the past 4 years to protect our brand, and this would not have been possible if we didn't have registered trademarks in the US, in Canada, and in progress throughout the world. So put simply, if you create a certification program without legal protections in place, you're just putting your beautiful work out into the world with no protection at all. And you could have no recourse when problems arrive. Now, what makes a successful certification program? It ultimately boils down to this: their success is your success. The success of the people coming out of your program, the people you are certifying, is what will make or break you. We want to establish metrics or KPIs for your program, or as I'd like to call them, measures of success. We want to ensure that we are evaluating all aspects of your certification training program throughout the journey, from the beginning through to the end, through to being certified for a period of time, to really ensure that it is the best it can be. Now, I have a 3 simple question, feedback form survey that I set my clients up with to ask their students. It's part of what allows us to track how effective their program truly is. This doesn't have to be overly complicated, but we do want to be tracking and measuring the things that are important, like we talked about in that very first step, the why. We need to be able to track and measure the success of the program in relation to the why. And if people are not coming out the other side of your certification program equipped and ready to do what was promised, that is going to be a problem in the long run. And so that could ultimately impact your reputation and your brand. So we want to make sure that we're measuring what matters. So these are the 9 steps ultimately of the Ready, Set, Certify model. Now, if you're curious about certification, go ahead and click the link here with this video to take our certification readiness quiz. This is a series of questions that will ask you about you and your business and give you my recommended next steps if certification is something you're interested in. If you're not quite ready for it, I'll give you next steps to start working towards that. If you are ready and this feels like it might be a potential fit, I'll give you some information there as well too. And if you have any questions or comments about creating a certification or even an existing certification program that you have, go ahead and post them here with this video. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your thoughts on the 9 steps to create an amazing certification and bring it to life in the world to ultimately serve you as the founder. The people you certify, there's people out there who could be hungry and ready for what it is that you would be bringing out into the world. So I'm always very excited to connect on those things. All right, until next time, it's Tina Forsyth. Take care. Bye now.